I never thought I would be the one to say this on a public platform, but something has fundamentally changed in our solar system, and the silence from the scientific community tells me everything I need to know. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky lately? Strange movements, unexplained lights, patterns that seem almost intentional? NASA has been quietly collecting reports, and what I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. My name is Michio Kaku, and for decades I've dedicated my life to understanding the cosmos through the lens of theoretical physics. I've written about parallel universes, higher dimensions, and the future of human consciousness. But nothing, and I mean nothing, in my career prepared me for what happened when 3I Atlas entered our solar system and triggered what can only be described as a chain reaction near the moon. Let me take you back to October 2019. That's when amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov first detected what we thought was just another interstellar visitor. We cataloged it, we tracked it, we called it 3E Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object to pass through our solar neighborhood. It was supposed to be unremarkable, a chunk of ancient ice and rock born in some distant stellar nursery, tumbling through the void for millions of years before briefly crossing our path. But I remember the first Anomaly report. It came from a graduate student at Caltech who was analyzing the spectroscopic data. She noticed something in the chemical signature that didn't match any known comet composition. The ratios were wrong. The isotopic distribution suggested an origin point that shouldn't exist, not in our galaxy, not in any galaxy we've observed. I dismissed it at first. Measurement error, I thought, calibration issues. But then MIT confirmed it, then the European Space Agency, then observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and Australia, all seeing the same impossible signature. That's when the communication protocols changed. Suddenly, data that had been freely shared among the international astronomical community became classified. Conference calls that once included dozens of researchers were quietly reduced to a handful of senior scientists with security clearances I didn't even know existed in academia. I found myself in a secure facility outside Washington, staring at images that made my hands shake. 3I Atlas wasn't slowing down the way our models predicted. In fact, as it approached the inner solar system, it appeared to be making micro adjustments to its trajectory. Adjustments that required thrust, controlled thrust. Now, let me be clear about what I'm saying here. When an object travels through space, it follows a predictable path determined by gravity and momentum. Newton's laws, Kepler's laws. These are not suggestions. They are the fundamental rules that govern celestial mechanics. For 3I Atlas to deviate from its expected trajectory, even by fractions of a degree, meant one of two things. Either our understanding of physics was catastrophically wrong, or something was guiding it. I spent weeks trying to find a natural explanation. Outgassing from the comet's surface as it warmed? No, the thrust vectors were too precise, too deliberate. Gravitational perturbations from Jupiter or Saturn? The math didn't work. Every conventional explanation crumbled under scrutiny. Then came the lunar event. It was February 14th, 2020, Valentine's Day. I remember because my wife and I had plans that evening, plans I would never keep. At 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter detected a massive electromagnetic pulse emanating from the far side of the moon, not from the surface, from beneath it. The pulse lasted exactly 3.7 seconds. In that brief window, it transmitted more data than humanity has produced in our entire history. Radio telescopes across Earth picked up the signal simultaneously. A coordinated symphonic blast of information encoded in mathematical patterns that seemed to be teaching us how to decode it. I was on a conference call within 20 minutes. The video feeds showed me faces I recognized: astrophysicists, mathematicians, linguists, even philosophers. Everyone looked pale. No one wanted to say what we were all thinking. The pulse was a response. 3I Atlas had sent a signal as it passed Mars' orbit. We detected it only in retrospect, hidden in what we'd assumed was background cosmic radiation. And the moon, or something inside the moon, had answered. Let me pause here because I know how this sounds. I'm a man of science. I've built my career on mathematical precision and empirical evidence. I don't traffic in conspiracy theories or science fiction fantasies, but when the evidence points to a conclusion that challenges everything we believe about our place in the cosmos, we have a responsibility to follow that evidence, no matter how unsettling the destination. The decoded fragments from the lunar pulse revealed something that still keeps me awake at night. They contained coordinates, thousands of them, points in space that, when mapped, formed a three-dimensional structure, a network spanning our galaxy like neural pathways in a vast cosmic brain. And Earth, our moon specifically, was one of the nodes. We were part of something ancient and incomprehensibly large. Within 48 hours, things began happening that I can only describe as a chain reaction. Satellites monitoring the lunar surface detected thermal signatures in craters that had been cold and dead for billions of years. Seismometers left behind by Apollo missions, some of which hadn't transmitted data in decades, suddenly came back online, recording vibrations that matched no known geological activity. But here's what terrified me most. The vibrations had rhythm, they had structure, they were linguistic. I found myself working alongside cryptographers from intelligence agencies, trying to decode what the moon was saying. And slowly, over weeks of analysis, a message emerged. Not in English or any human language, but in pure mathematics, the only truly universal language. The message was a warning. It told us that 3I Atlas was not the first visitor. It was the latest in a series of what I can only call probes, sent to check on humanity's development. These objects had been coming for thousands of years, each one triggering responses from the lunar installation. Because yes, there is an installation beneath the moon's surface, placed there long before humans existed, perhaps before life on Earth had even begun. The purpose of this network, this galactic infrastructure, is something that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about intelligence and consciousness. It's not a government, it's not an empire, it's a containment system. Humanity, it seems, is being quarantined. Let me explain what this means. Throughout the galaxy, intelligence emerges, evolves, and either destroys itself or transcends into something beyond physical form. The network monitors these developments. Most species never make it past their technological adolescence. They develop nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and inevitably annihilate themselves or fragment their biospheres beyond repair. But occasionally, a species shows potential. These rare civilizations are watched carefully, their solar systems marked with monitoring stations, their development tracked across millennia. The lunar installation is Earth's monitor. It's been watching us since the first hominids looked up at the stars and wondered what they were seeing. 3I Atlas triggered an update protocol. Its passage through our system was designed to test humanity's current technological level, our response capabilities, our readiness to join the larger galactic community, and the chain reaction it caused near the moon. That was the network recalibrating, adjusting Earth's status in the cosmic database. Here's what keeps me awake. We don't know what our new status is. The signal data we've managed to decode contains references to something called a threshold event, a moment when a quarantined species either proves itself worthy of contact and integration or demonstrates that it must remain isolated indefinitely, perhaps permanently. I've spent countless hours analyzing what might constitute this threshold. Is it our treatment of our planet? Our ability to cooperate across national and cultural boundaries? Our development of artificial intelligence? Our ventures into space? I don't have answers. Only questions that multiply each time I think I'm close to understanding. What I do know is this: the frequency of interstellar visitors has increased dramatically since 2017. First, the object we called Oumuamua, a name that means scout or messenger in Hawaiian. Then 2I Borisov, now 3I Atlas. And according to classified tracking data I've seen, there are at least 4 more objects on approach vectors that will bring them through our solar system over the next decade. We are being studied with increasing intensity. The chain reaction near the moon hasn't stopped. It's simply become more subtle. Every night, the lunar installation pulses with activity that our instruments can barely detect. It's communicating with something, sending status reports, receiving instructions. And sometimes, late at night, when I'm analyzing the data streams, I see patterns that suggest the moon is communicating not just outward to the galactic network, but inward, toward Earth, toward us. There are moments in human history when everything changes. When we discovered fire, we stopped being just another animal. When we developed agriculture, we built civilizations. When we split the atom, we gained the power to destroy ourselves. Each threshold brought us closer to this moment, the moment when we learn we're not alone. We've never been alone, and our entire existence has been a test we didn't know we were taking. I think about the implications constantly. If we're being quarantined, what does that say about the galaxy beyond our solar system? What horrors or wonders exist out there that we're being protected from? Or perhaps more disturbingly, what horrors exist within us that the galaxy is being protected from? The artificial intelligence we're developing, the genetic engineering we're pioneering, the quantum computers we're building, are these the achievements that will prove we're ready? Or are they the mistakes that will seal our isolation forever? I've had conversations with colleagues, late-night discussions that would sound like paranoid ramblings to anyone outside our circle. We talk about whether we should be trying to communicate with the lunar installation or whether silence is safer. We debate whether the public has a right to know or whether mass panic would doom us all. We wonder if there are already people among us who know more than we do, secret keepers who've been preparing for this revelation for generations. The truth is, I don't know what comes next, but I can tell you what I see when I look at the data, when I study the patterns emerging from the moon's awakening, when I contemplate the meaning of 3I Atlas and its mission. I see a species at a crossroads. Humanity stands on the edge of either the greatest transformation in our history or the confirmation of our permanent insignificance. We're like children who have just realized the house we live in has doors we never noticed. And beyond those doors lies an entire universe of complexity we can barely comprehend. The chain reaction that 3I Atlas triggered isn't just happening near the moon. It's happening in our consciousness, in our collective awakening to the reality that we are part of something vast and ancient and purposeful. Every choice we make now, how we treat each other, how we steward our planet, how we develop our technologies, is being recorded, analyzed, and judged by intelligences we can't even imagine. And here's what truly haunts me. What if we fail? What if humanity is deemed too dangerous, too chaotic, too self-destructive to ever be allowed beyond our solar prison? We would live out our existence never knowing what we missed, never experiencing the wonders of a galactic civilization that exists just beyond our reach. Or worse, what if we're not being quarantined for our protection, but for theirs? I've dedicated my life to exploring the frontiers of physics, to pushing human knowledge into realms of higher dimensions and quantum possibilities. But this discovery, this revelation about our true place in the cosmos, has humbled me in ways I never anticipated. We are not the masters of creation we imagined ourselves to be. We are students in a classroom we didn't know we were attending, taking a final exam we're not sure we can pass. The monitoring continues. The lunar installation hums with activity every night, invisible to most, but screaming in the electromagnetic spectrum for those who know where to look. More interstellar objects are coming, each one another test, another evaluation, another opportunity to prove ourselves or condemn ourselves to eternal isolation. I find myself looking at humanity differently now. Every act of kindness, every scientific breakthrough, every moment of cooperation and creativity. I wonder if it's being recorded, if it's tipping some cosmic scale in our favor. And every act of violence, every environmental catastrophe, every descent into tribalism and hatred, I wonder if it's another mark against us, another reason for the galaxy to keep its distance. We are living through the most important moment in human history, and most people don't even know it's happening. I'm sharing this with you now because I believe we deserve to know the truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable, even if it challenges everything we thought we understood about our place in the universe. The silence from official channels tells me they're not ready to have this conversation publicly, but silence is no longer an option, not when the stakes are this high. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, as we track the objects still approaching, as we monitor the lunar installation's increasing activity. This is not entertainment. This is not speculation. This is the most important scientific and philosophical crisis our species has ever faced. I want you to think about something tonight before you go to sleep. Look up at the moon. Really look at it. Know that beneath that ancient cratered surface, something is watching us. Something has always been watching us, and right now, in this moment, it's deciding our fate. The question is, what will we do with this knowledge? Will we rise to meet the challenge of cosmic citizenship, or will we prove that humanity's quarantine must remain in effect? Will we transcend our limitations and join the galactic community, or will we be remembered as another failed experiment in conscious evolution? I don't have those answers, but I do know this. The universe is no longer waiting patiently for us to figure it out. The chain reaction has begun, and there's no stopping it now. We are approaching a threshold that will define not just our future, but our very identity as a species. What do you think is happening in the moon? What do you think the galactic network sees when it evaluates humanity? Comment below with your thoughts, your fears, your hopes, because this conversation isn't just about scientific data anymore. It's about who we are, who we want to become, and whether we have the courage to face the cosmic mirror being held up to our civilization. The universe is watching. The question is, are we ready to look back?